Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to thank the organizers for this conference and for accepting my paper and giving me the opportunity to present my work. I'm going to talk about the use of amulets in the Mycenaean culture. The belief that individuals are susceptible to harm caused by evil and are therefore in need of protection is a concept that is present in many ancient and modern cultures. The threat from evil can be manifested, among others, as illness, misfortune, or death. It can be the result of the action of malevolent spirits, vengeful divinities, or other individuals whose envy can consciously or unconsciously cause harm. In need of protection were also vulnerable individuals, such as infants and pregnant women, while transitional situations such as death were similarly prone to danger. The appeal of amulets lies in the belief that certain objects have the power to protect, heal, or assist those who carry them due to the material they are made from, their shape, decoration, inscription, their symbolic or religious associations, or the rituals involved in the creation. Amulets were usually worn or carried on the person or placed at the location of the desired magical effect. Amulets could also have a vegetal or mineral origin or made from other perishable material like cloth or threads. Mycenaean amulets were identified as such mostly to their religious iconography or shape. Further, the material was often attributed with protective qualities due to its rarity and exotic provenance or other qualities. The Mycenaeans also resorted to the use of foreign amulets, such as Egyptian and Near Eastern ones, indicated by their presence in burials. Given the context among these cultures, it is almost certain that the Mycenaeans were aware of their symbolic dimensions. Alternatively, the efficacy of the foreign object was attributed precisely to its exotic provenance and imagery. In Mycenaean Greece, an apotropaic role must certainly be attributed to representations of frontal faces occurring on seal stones. This image is quite rare in the prehistoric Aegean in general. The motif most likely evolved from the Minoan Gorgonia, which gradually lost their terrifying appearance. It has been found in tombs and settlements, and the seal stones it decorated were perforated to be worn as a pendant or a bracelet. On the example from Medea, the apotropaic potency of the image is further enhanced by the presence of the arms and the snake. Indeed, seal stones, which often were worn as pendants and bracelets, indicated by their fine spots in the burial, also had symbolic associations suggested by their deposition in sanctuaries as ex votos and their inclusion as part of the attire of divine and religious figures. Individuals in possession of them have been attributed a high status and the imagery indicative of their honor, status, and identity, whether social and/or religious. In addition, however, to their role as insignia of status, it is possible that a number of them were regarded as amulets due to their images. Thus, seal stones depicting creatures such as griffins and sphinxes, which were attributed with protective qualities in Mycenaean iconography, could have been used also as amulets, as would seal stones with antithetic motifs. In a similar way, the motif of the master or mistress of animals would have had protective qualities due to the representation of power and control over the natural and supernatural world. Equally, the Minoan genius, the protective role of which is suggested by its origin from the Egyptian toweret, a protector of children and childbirth, and by its depiction in Aegean iconography as flanking and protecting a female or male figure, might have had amuletic properties. Beads or pendants in shapes with religious associations, such as the figure of 8, also had amuletic properties. This shape has multiple layers of symbolic meaning in the prehistoric Aegean. Primarily, it's a defensive weapon, but it is also associated with a female warrior deity, often appearing as her manifestation, and with fertility and regeneration in the context of hunting and sacrifice. Furthermore, the two interconnected circles have strong magic and cosmic associations. Consequently, as a powerful symbol, figure of 8 shaped pendants and beads would have indeed shielded the wearer from harm. Such objects have been uncovered in a number of burials accompanying both children and adults. Particularly impressive is the necklace made of amethyst accompanying a child in a tomb from Argos, which included 11 figure of 8 beads, or the rock crystal pendant from Tholos tomb Delta at Archanes on Crete. Further evidence that this shape was indeed worn as a necklace derives from a Mycenaean cult figure uncovered at the palace of Medea, which has a small figure of 8 painted on its chest. Beads seem to have been particularly associated with children, suggested by the iconography and by actual specimens uncovered in child burials. They were considered an appropriate adornment for them, but it is possible that they also had a symbolic meaning. Beads were worn as necklaces, anklets, armbands, bracelets, on the hair, or even as earrings and sewn on textiles. Red carnelian was particularly common in children's burials, perhaps with amuletic or symbolic properties due to its material as a semi-precious stone and its color, a reference to blood as the essence of life. The red beads decorating the dress of the young girl held by a female deity, depicted on a group of wall painting fragments from Mycenae, might be a reference to the connection between children and redstone in a religious context and under the protection of the goddess. Carnelian beads were found in a number of tombs, among other places at the cemetery of Perati in Attica, and the fact that they are often found at the jaw of the dead child indicates they were worn as pendants. The protective properties of beads are also supported by examples from Antiquity and by ethnographic parallels, of course. Children depicted on Hoes in classical Athens wear beads on a cord around their upper body as amulets, whereas in modern Greece and elsewhere, a blue bead is worn on babies to protect them from the evil eye. A shape with an diachronically symbolic meaning is the crescent. In Mycenaean Greece, crescent-shaped pendants have been uncovered in a number of tombs at Eleusis, Thebes, Perati, Assini, and Kefalonia, accompanying both children and adults. Occasionally, they occur also in settlement contexts, for example, at Nihori and Messenia. The shape has been associated with women, menstruality, fertility, lactation, and with children and growth in various cultures and chronological periods. In Egypt, pendants of this shape protected from evil and magic, but were also associated with children, correlating their lunar phases with their development, while crescent amulets were common in archaic and classical Greece. They are depicted, for example, among other amulets, adorning young children on Attic Hoes. During this period, the crescent was probably a reference to the protection of Artemis as the goddess associated with the birth and raising of both humans and animals. A further indication of the connection between women and the crescent shape consists the clay female figure uncovered at Tiryns. The fact that the figure possibly represents a deity indicates a connection of the shape with the worship of a female deity, enhancing its potency. It is possible that occasionally Mycenaean figurines might have been worn as amulets. An archaic clay figurine from Boeotia displayed in the Louvre Museum has a figurine painted as a pendant around its neck. Although later in date, it could pertain to a habit of the Bronze Age, while the perforated Mycenaean figurines uncovered at the sanctuary of Athena Pronea at Delphi perhaps further support such a use, in addition to the figurines being hung from trees. Their use as amulets could be a reference to divine protection through the display of the image of the deity. However, perforated figurines remain very rare, indicating either that such a practice did not exist or that figurines were simply tied to a string when worn as pendants. Given the limited evidence, this use of the Mycenaean figurines must remain simply a possibility, though the amuletic character of figurines could be supported by the presence of a pendant in the form of a Cycladic idol. However, in Tomb Delta at Lacythra on Kefalonia. The occurrence in tombs of inscribed objects suggests that the Mycenaeans believed in the apotropaic properties of writing, which depend on the notion of materiality, since written characters are primarily material and iconic symbols that materialize sounds, and as such they hold power. Inscribed jewelry and pottery from Minoan contexts suggest that the magical properties ascribed to writing were not unknown in the prehistoric Aegean. From the Mycenaean Greece, however, derive very few examples. A white pebble from Korako and a crystal button from Nafplia, both sides from the Peloponnese, uncovered in children's burials, were decorated with the linear B sign of Rho or Lo, which looks like a cross, but in the eyes of the illiterate could have acquired magical properties. An inscribed lentoid was found in tomb 24 at Perati on the chest of a young adult. The lentoid is engraved on both sides with characters from different scripts, namely linear A and B, Cypro-Minoan and Hittite. The lentoid was an attempt to imitate a Hittite bulla, which was of course an amulet, by a Cypriot inscriber who did not understand the Hittite script and who added symbols from other scripts as well as symbols he invented. The text is deliberately unintelligible to enhance its apotropaic function and is reminiscent of the habit in later periods to inscribe amulets with repetitive and nonsensical invocations as some type of exorcism. A similar stelatelentoid was uncovered in chamber tomb 523 at Mycenae, also inscribed with an intelligible text, and another was found in a tomb from Ialyssos on Rhodes. In addition to the shape, imagery, and religious association of the objects identified as amulets, material would have also played a role. The occurrence of amber objects in warrior burials during the early Mycenaean period might have been a deliberate practice with a prophylactic character, given the particular inherent qualities of the material. It is a shiny stone resembling much of gold, warmer than other stones and floats on water. It can be burned, releasing an aromatic scent, and can be electrostatically charged when rubbed against cloth. During the early Mycenaean period, a time of competing elites and the gradual consolidation of power, amber occurred in specific tombs associated with warrior elite identity in the form of necklaces, belts, sword beads, even unworked material, and could have been part of the equipment of elite warriors in order to offer them magical protection both in life and death. Moreover, the presence in Tholos 8 at Kakóvatos in Messenia of an amber bead in the form of figure of 8 is a testament of the combination of a powerful protective symbol with a magically charged material. Finally, foreign amulets were also used by the Mycenaeans. In addition to the crescent-shaped amulets from Perati, which were imported from Syro-Palestine, the Mycenaeans also used Egyptian amulets, namely scarabs and cartouche figurines. Many of these objects were uncovered in tombs. For example, an Egyptian scarab and a cartouche were worn around the necks of infants in tombs 90 and 104 of Perati, respectively. In Egypt, the scarab symbolized resurrection and rebirth and was commonly worn as an amulet and deposited with mummies, its power enhanced by additional inscribed symbols and prayers on its flat side. The presence in tomb 30 at Perati of faience figurines of the Egyptian gods Bes, Taweret, and Sebek, all three deities employed as protective forces in Egypt, are most likely an invocation to their protection. Not ignoring the fact that Egyptian objects could have been deposited as funerary gifts in order to denote status and access to exotica, the fact that there was a preference to scarabs and figurines, and that occasionally they were worn as pendants, seems to suggest a belief in their symbolic dimensions. An amuletic function has also been attributed to Near Eastern cylinder seals found in burials on mainland Greece and modified to be worn as pendants. This type of seals was rarely used for imprint purposes, suggesting that its use was more as an object of prestige or exotic jewelry. The exotic quality of these objects, their precious material, lapis lazuli faience hematite, combined with the religious decoration and with the unintelligibility of the foreign text, could render them appropriate objects to function as protective devices. The examination of Mycenaean amulets indicates a variety of types. To this should be added amulets made of animal parts, of perishable materials such as flowers and plants, or cloth and threads. The fact that the majority of them have been found in funerary contexts indicates presumably the fear related to death that would require occasionally the use of even more than one amulet, or that of foreign ones, perhaps considered more powerful. Children might have been particularly vulnerable not only in death but also in life, and the desire to keep them safe would have encouraged the use of magical religious means. Women preoccupied with issues of fertility, a safe parturition, and the well-being of offspring, as indeed anyone who wished to protect from harm and secure prosperity, could resort to the help of amulets. Finally, competence and protection in battle was also sought after, indicating that even the bravest of the Mycenaeans would resort to metaphysical or magical means to secure them. Thank you very much.